Hey guys, welcome back. So today's actually a pretty exciting day. We're going to get our tremec TKX, should be right there, and our McLeod clutch installed on our LS over here. I've already been playing with the bell housing a little bit. I had to get some offset dowel pins in order to get this thing lined up within 5/1000ths of an inch. And all I did to check that was take my dial indicator and I stuck it on the back of the crankshaft there and I spun the motor over. Not gonna lie, it took me a few goes and I had to walk away and come back a couple times, and here we are now. So hopefully I can get this transmission bolted up. And get this thing set into the truck today. That'd be pretty awesome. I don't know if it's going to stay in the truck, but hopefully I can get it in and get measured up for a trans cross member. Now, as far as the trans cross member goes, I don't know how much of this you can actually see, but this truck actually has an X brace that runs through the center, and there's a cross member that the torsion bars mount to. So I'm hoping that the transmission is going to sit far enough forward that I'm not hitting that trans cross member, or the trans cross member, hitting the torsion bar cross member, and hopefully it'll all just slide right in there. Okay, so our first order of business here is going to be to wipe this thing off of here and get that out of the way. And then I'm going to deconstruct this clutch and get the flywheel out of here. I'm actually going to move you. And there we go. So I started taking this apart the other day. So I already took some pieces off. I probably will forget where they go here. But we're going to get our pressure plate off. And this being a twin disc, I have two discs in here, a top and a bottom. And they were nice enough to label them. They also put a little witness mark on here because they're balanced. Let's see if I can get these lock washers off of here. I'm going to leave them in the box, that way I can lose them in there. So we take our top plate off. We take our center out. And now we got our bottom plate. So we'll get all that out of there. We'll pull our spacers. Those in the pile. And I might actually try to just leave whatever else is on there on it. And what we're going to do is we're going to spin you around here. Hopefully I can be in the same spot as this camera. We'll go right there. I'll stick a bolt in. And we're going to get this mounted up. Okay. Try to turn it so you guys can see what I'm doing. And we've got our extra hole lined up. I'm going to get a couple of these in so that way it can't fall. I already put my pilot bearing in. If you're doing a manual swap on an LS, you will have to buy this bearing. And all I did was go into Summit and tell them what I was doing, and they had a bearing in stock. Let's see here. So these are a 15 millimeter bolt, or 15 millimeter head. and grab the right socket this time. And find our instruction manual that I just had. So they give you all the torque specs. Let's see if I can get this to focus in here. They are right here for you guys. Hopefully that focused enough for you. And looks like we're going to be going for 75 foot-pounds. So we're going to spin this guy in. I'm going to put my preview back up there. All right, we're spun around. We should be right at 75. So I'm going to spin these in by hand, and then hopefully they're going to be short enough and I don't have to go buy new bolts. It's feeling like they're going to bottom out there, though. And this might not be a fun time for me. Let's see. No, they're going. Thinking what I'm going to do is I'm going to cheat. We're going to do something we probably shouldn't. There. Now we've cheated them in. We're going to go through and maybe we'll switch to the deep well. See if I can get out past the stud and make sure all my spacers are still on there. Ow. I think right now all we're doing is we're getting it pushed onto the crankshaft. It'd be nice if this thing would hold still a little bit, but I don't have an engine stand to hold it and do this part. So hopefully now I can do this. It doesn't turn the motor over while I'm tightening them. And it's going to. Let me go get a bar. Okay. So those are torqued down to 75. And what I'm going to do is go through and check them and then mark them with a Sharpie. Okay. Now those are on there. Go ahead and slide this guy back in. And I'm sure I'll have to reference my pictures. This guy's got a witness mark on it, and I'm thinking that's going to end up, right there. Make sure all my spacers are on there still. It looks like they are. 2, 2, 2. We're going to put the bottom disc in. That might help too. And let's see here. This guy's going to go in here. Let's see if I can get him lined up. Now, I've never actually put one of these in, so hopefully that looks right there. And what we're going to do is get my nuts out. I think I have 2 different sizes in here. Of course, I took this apart about a week ago, so these big ones will go up there. Should only have 3 of these smaller ones. But I got to make sure I don't have to put any spacers on here. Uh-oh, I don't like how that feels. It's okay. So, got that spacer, put you on, put you on, put you on, and there's those 2. Now I'm pretty sure I have more spacers in here that need to go on top of that, so I'm going to reference my pictures that I took. Okay, and we're back. So I referenced my pictures, thought I made a mistake, then realized I didn't make a mistake, and now I got to figure out what I'm doing here. I got to figure out how this is all going to go back together. So there's some lock washers that go on these, it looked like in my pictures. When you take one of these apart, definitely pay attention to where all these shims go, because there are a lot of them. But we're going to stick all this stuff in here. Make sure your alignment marks line up, and make sure your clutches are lined up right before you tighten everything down. I'm going to figure out what size these are supposed to be. Definitely not that size. All right, so that works there. Now I'm just going to snug these up, and I'm going to check my torque specs on the back here and see what those are supposed to be. Okay. Now they tell you torque specs for bolts, but they don't actually tell you which bolts are which. So maybe I need to go back here and reference this. Floater straps must be on the flywheel side. Install the 3 nuts and tighten to 25 foot-pounds. So all I had to do was read. And now we get to go back down. And watch this torque wrench not go down to 25. Oh, there's 25 right there. And 25. I'm going to go back through and I'm just going to double check them. Not trying to tighten them anymore, I'm just trying to check them. I'm going to grab my Sharpie. Draw a line on them just so I know that I torqued them. Okay. So those are on. And now we've got our flex plate that's going to go on. This guy's going to go just like that. We're going to line up with our witness marks here. So you can spin this so you can see it. Maybe. But our witness marks are right here, all the way across. Now I gotta see if I can get this thing to line up all the way. There we go. And it's a lot easier to do when it's not car, sure. Loose nose. All right, this would be 35 pounds. Send it a little bit. Okay, we'll try to use the pressure on this plate. I don't know if it's necessary or not, but I would assume so. That'll be right. That's right. We'll put it on the center. Yes, once. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 4. Okay, so I'll put down now. Go ahead. Mark all these. First one, here, 11 minutes. Later. All right, so should we go there? Okay, and we're back, guys. So I had to actually loosen this flywheel back up, or loosen the pressure plate back up because I couldn't get this guy out, my alignment tool. And then I retorqued everything, so it screwed my lines up, but now this comes out. We're gonna go ahead and throw my nice cheap eBay bell housing on to cover up my super expensive clutch. So let's get this guy set on here. Got one pin. And like I said earlier, I actually had to get some alignment pins, some offset pins. There's no threads in this hole on an LS, but I continue to try to stick a bolt in there. And I don't actually need all of these because what I've got is a bracket I drew up and had burned out here that, well, I guess I can show you guys the bracket instead of just talking about it. So this bracket is going to hold a slave cylinder. I believe it's from a square body. And I'm going to mount it over here. I'm trying to use the original clutch fork with this. And I may have to relocate you guys so that you can see what I'm doing. But what I'm going to go ahead and do, I figured out that in order to keep my alignment, I actually have to tighten these bolts first. That is not the right socket. Get 15. I'm sure that isn't at all. Let me snug these up a little more. And I'm sure there's a torque spec for these that I don't have. So we're going to ignore that and just put it on. But I'll bring you over here and you can see this bracket. And what it's going to do, see if I can close this up here. So this bracket, hopefully everything's going to be in line here. But I'm going to have a ground strap right in the way. But I'll have my slave cylinder here and hopefully it can engage with this. And I just realized I need to put my throwout bearing in there before I forget. So we're going to move you guys over here again. Maybe I'll even lower you down. Let's see. That's a little better. So what I have here is a Timken bearing. And it is actually, I'll show you the part number. See if I can get it close enough to read it. Hopefully that's good. It'll fall out of the box. But this is actually longer than a standard throwout bearing. And it's also full of grease. That's now all over my hand. But I should be able to just slide this in here and struggle and find out that it's too long. Potentially. It feels too long. So we're going to ignore that and we're going to go look for the other one and see if it's the right length. All right, well, we're going to slide the shitty one in there and see what happens. Oh, that doesn't line up at all with anything, does it? Okay, we're going to do this again. Hopefully the mic's on this time. So I had to stop what I was doing because I realized my throwout bearing was actually rubbing on the clutch in here. So I went to Advance Auto, picked up some, they were actually throttle return springs to put on my bracket to pull the clutch fork back. Let me spin you guys around here. I'll show you what I got. So I just got a nice heavy spring on here. It doesn't feel too strong. I can still move it by hand. Yes, the bolts are still loose. But I made this bracket, doodled it up in CAD, run it through CNC plasma, and I think I went through like 2 versions of this before I got it to line up where I wanted. The slave cylinder I'm using is actually an LS 117, and I believe it's off a square body, but it was on Amazon. It was about 20 bucks, and it kind of fits the bill. You know, I've got budget LS build, budget bell housing, and extremely expensive transmission to go in my truck that's in 1,000 pieces. So that works out good. Nothing wrong with that at all. And I know I said earlier I had to get these offset dowel pins, and that was because with the TKX, I guess I could have told you this is a Tremec TKX also. So all the goodies there. We're gonna get this guy hopefully bolted up. I gotta get bolts still, but I have some old ones off the other transmission. I might just put this in and put one bolt in it, because I kind of want to see the transmission hooked to this and play with it. So I think I might just set it up and slide the transmission in here and go from there. Okay, ignore the mess. We're going to try to slide this thing in here, see what happens. These things are kind of heavy, so I'm just going to get down here, struggle. I'm going to be probably right in the way of the camera. But let's see. Oh, and there goes my phone. All right, guys, so we're back. I had to make a little cut. We were having some issues getting the transmission hooked up to the bell housing, but of course, as soon as I shut the camera off, it slid right in. Had to readjust the clutch and get the discs realigned, and so now here we are. This guy's all hooked up. Ignore the mess. I need to clean up, but we've got her all hooked up now. But what I'm going to do before I put this thing in is I'm going to swap this out for my white lightning shifter, and what this is going to do is this is going to hopefully relocate my shifter so it doesn't come out underneath the seat. That's my hope. If not, maybe I can get a longer rod. I would probably have to call American Powertrain for that, but I'm going to get you guys set up and hopefully we can get that swapped out today. Ignore the missing bolts. I left them on my counter, so that's going to be a tomorrow problem. Okay, so the factory bolts on this thing, I believe, are 10 millimeter, and they are not tight at all. So we're going to go ahead and loosen all these guys up and hopefully get this thing off of here. We don't need that now. Maybe I'll tweak you guys up a hair. Maybe that's better. Maybe we'll go a little more, you know, micro adjustments. And I'll tell you what, it was nice the other day, but it is definitely spring and the weather is extremely bipolar up here. I could go for a few 65 or 70 degree days at this point. Those are actually pretty long too. Now I'm hoping I can reuse the gasket on this thing because I don't have another one. So hopefully this isn't compressed. Oh, I missed one. Now I'm actually real excited to get this thing in the truck, and I know I've got a ton of stuff to do before I actually set it in, but I'm really tempted to just stab it in there and see how it fits. Because I kind of want to just sit in it and put a fake shifter handle on it and pretend to drive it in my garage right into the RV that's in front of it. All right, well, let's see what's under this thing. Okay, well, the gasket's good. Oh boy. I don't know what any of this is. It looks pretty straightforward, covered in grease now. Okay, so hopefully this is as straightforward as dropping this on in the hole. You tell me. Looks like it's in the hole. Now that's interesting though, because it looks like those are plastic bushings. I wonder why they did that instead of brass or bronze or something, besides being cheaper. Now this is just held on with a bunch of Allen bolts, and wherever I put the instructions, it says 6 to 11 foot-pounds for torque. And since I don't have a way to do the torque on these, because I don't have anything that a torque wrench that'll go that low, let alone a socket that would fit it, we're just going to snug these up by hand and hopefully they're good. And then we're going to pretend to shift this thing a couple times, make vroom vroom noises. And the goal wasn't to buy a really fancy shifter for this thing, but I'm gonna put a bench seat in this truck, and I guess that's this thing's necessary to get it up in front of the seat, hopefully. Doink. Now, I probably could have put some grease on that, since there's a bunch of grease all over the other one sitting on the floor, but it's too late now. It didn't come with grease, so no more grease. No grease. It's good enough. And I think that's it. Looks like we're good. So we're going to stick this thing in this bag right here, put it in the box, and then add it to my box of parts that I'm going to have sitting in my garage forever because I refuse to throw anything out. So that's our shifter installed. Now I want to just sit here and play with this thing. You know, I'm still a child at heart, so we got that going for us. Now all right, guys, so it's the big day. We're going to try to get the LS and the TKX into the truck. And I'm not going to lie to you, with the day I've been having so far out here, I'm mildly concerned. But we're going to do it anyways because I need a win. So let's get after it. Hopefully this thing drops right in. Let me make sure I have my bolts. My bolts, I should probably make sure they're open and ready to go. Oh yeah, they're greasy too. I'm sure I'll lose these washers in about 2 minutes. Maybe I'll leave everything in the container and I'll just put a bolt on each fender and then we'll be good to go. I did get my brake lines in, which I'm sure you saw in the last video. I don't know why I took those out, and that can go over there now, I guess. All right. Let's see how this goes. Hopefully this thing balances. Looks like it's going pretty well. Kick all this crap out of the way here. I'm hoping I have enough room under the control arms. I'm sure there's a bunch of junk under there that's going to be in the way. Maybe I'll spin her before she gets too high in the air. Maybe. Oh yeah, she's moving now. Oh, we're gonna hit the frame. Guess we'll get her up in the air. See if I can't slide her over. There we go. Give her a couple more pumps here. And I guess we'll just go nice and slow. See what I run into. Looking good so far. Thinking I'm gonna have to go up and then angle it down. I probably should have moved it to this notch. We're looking like we might run into some problems. But oh well, we're gonna push and then we'll confirm that by continuing to do what we're doing and smash the transmission into the firewall like that. Yeah, I'm thinking I should have angled it a little bit. All right, we're gonna back up and we're gonna try this again. Really thinking this isn't going to fit. And I'm going to have to do something different with the mounts. Because if I line this one up, I don't think I'm going to hit this one. I might have to take my blocks back out. Interesting. Okay, well, I guess I'll show you what I'm dealing with, and we'll cut it here, and I'll come up with a solution. So, that one is almost in. This one is nowhere near the engine, the mount. So, I think I gotta move everything this way. Or find a happy medium somewhere. Maybe I'll fiddle with it here for a second. Maybe I can just take the bottom bolt out and slide these more. obviously I ran into a few issues in this part, and what you're seeing here now is me putting the motor back in the truck. I'm sure you saw that earlier where the perches were actually too far apart. So I had to pull the motor, line everything back up, center the motor in there, and then re-drill the frame. And after I re-drilled the frame, I think right about now, maybe in a couple seconds here, I go to put the bolts in and realize that the holes in those Amazon motor mounts or perches, whatever you want to call them, don't quite line up with the rubber mounts. So I ended up having to pick the motor back up, pull the perches out again, and then take a carbide burr and actually open the holes up. Some of this may have been my fault too, because the adapter plates I bought to go on the LS were originally for a clamshell mount, not for this little polyurethane mount that I bought. So that probably has something to do with it, since the clamshell is a lot taller. Alright guys, so it's finally in. Man, was that a lot of work. I thought that was going to drop right in there, but I ended up having to move the mounts, re-drill the frame, re-drill the cross member. But as you can see, she's in there and she's being supported by the truck. Now hopefully I can get the cross member whipped up for the transmission here pretty quick, and then it can be fully supported. I am a little concerned about this bolt right here. I'm hoping I'll be able to get that in for the coils. If not, these motor mount brackets or adapter plates, they have more holes in them. Maybe I can get one more set of holes, I can move it forward. But yeah, the transmission lines up pretty good in here. She's still held up with the jack, but I've got it centered in here. You see the, let's put that up there. Maybe that'll work. Maybe. I've got the White Lightning shifter on there, so I'm pretty excited about that. And this thing lines right up the trans tunnel. The only thing I'm worried about, and I know I'm going to have to modify it, is the tunnel that goes here kind of comes out and dips down and then comes back up. I'm thinking I'm going to have to just cut it and bring it straight up and then cut a big hole in it for that shifter. But I think I'm going to have enough room in here for my seats. I'm going to use the seats out of that 2005, hopefully, and we'll be driving this thing before too long. I'm pretty excited. So I'm going to go home and be back at this tomorrow. Thanks for watching.